Hi there. It's me, the dog, in a rice bowl. Today I just wanted to show you my exploration on what it was like to set up a third person character in Godot. I've been playing a lot of World of Warcraft recently. And by a lot I mean like just maybe an hour here or there, I guess. But one thing that really intrigued me about playing it again is that I just spent time exercising what it looks like to not have an animated character in front of you and instead replace that with a typical Godot like starter capsule. And then what does that look like moving in your Godot engine, right? And could it be replicated fairly easily or not? So that was my exercise. I was thinking, I have a game idea. I wrote down a lot of notes, but what I didn't know how to do is really manage my tasks. And that's where this tool comes in for me. So, because I saw a video on Godot workflows, and one of the suggested items was to use Miro in that video. But I didn't want to use an online hosted thing that doesn't save anything to my computer. I prefer to just have control over the file. So I thought to try this program here called Obsidian. Now, at first, I didn't think Obsidian would be the right tool because I was using its wiki feature. And its wiki feature is great. It's pretty cool for writing documentation that links back and forth to itself for reference without having to repeat a lot of details, right? But it didn't have its graph view didn't look very good to me when I was doing it that way. So I thought I would move on and find another tool, maybe even go straight to Miro. But then I found that there is this thing called a canvas. So I created a canvas, and then canvases allow you to create notes and then drag these notes to connect them to each other onto the screen. And then voila, you have yourself a little mind map. And the idea is that you can start very abstract about what you're trying to do. And in fact, this could actually go a lot farther in this direction. But so yeah, I knew that I wanted to be able to set up player controls. And then I need to set up movement and manage the camera. And as you can see there, I just kind of went from there. And then I used World of Warcraft as kind of my design doc, my mock, basically. Because if I couldn't do it in Godot the way it works in World of Warcraft, I thought, okay, that'll be the next thing I try to replicate. And I just kept going and going. And there's still some bugs, obviously, but I feel like I got to a place to where I'm pretty happy with it and I can kind of move forward with the next step. So there's that. And as you can see here, my next task is to set up multiplayer, because now that I have a moving character that players can potentially control and move and manipulate, I want to set up just like a quick little server client architecture that clients can actually connect to the game over IP, and I want to see them pop in the world and move around, right? So hopefully individuals will be able to help me try that out, some friends of mine. So as you can see, I've completed a client that connects to the server, and I'm looking to switch the world scene when the connection is successful. So I'll show you when I get to that point what that's about. So without further ado, I'll just hop into Godot, and we'll look at the scene that holds the player instance. So here we go. So this player instance looks like this. They just straighten the world, lets me test it right away, right? The idea in the future is to have connected players to spawn in. And also for note, I used Kenny prototype textures just to get all these textures on here. It was nice to learn how to get them to repeat like this, which if you don't know, if you go to a mesh and you can go to the material for that mesh, if you select UV1 or UV2, that's probably not the right one. There's like 3 places for the material that you can apply. When you just drag it onto that, it'll go here, it looks like, on the Geometry Instance 3D. And I think I adjusted, yeah, so I made that repeat twice. And this one will probably repeat in a different way. If I go to the, yeah, so for this guy, I think I made him a little bit different. Yeah, 4 times. That's the basic idea, right? I made a box for the floor, a box here. They both have collision transforms, shapes. This has a collision shape. So it's all set up for that reason. But the most important part to me is the 2 scripts I have here for controlling the camera and controlling the movement of the character. And these are all details as to how I managed to get the different things that I've mind mapped onto the character. And I did make a separation between the logic for the spring arm here, and which controls the camera direction, and then also the player, mainly because I wanted to reduce how much I was looking at and caring about at a time. And I felt like making these different scripts made more sense. I probably could have just put it on character body or the player even, and just kind of like targeted these 2 and kept them in one script. But I don't know. It felt better to do it this way. Yeah, that's mainly my opinion. I'm sure there's a reason not to do it, but it felt really good for my purposes. Also, I'll go ahead and load this game up here so you can see. I'll make it full screen so I can zoom out just like I can in WoW. I'm linearly interpolating, lerping the screen so that you can see more at a time. I can jump, and I can jump in a direction like that. And I can jump in 360 no scope. I can do the same, action where. See, that was weird too. I don't know why it hopped like that. So there's little things that I'm sure I need to iron out, but overall it feels very, very similar to how it works in WoW. Because I'm usually holding my right mouse button, and sometimes I'm just holding the left mouse button and going in a circle, So yeah. And when I hold my right mouse button and move left and right, works just like in WoW, and I can kind of target something, keep my face toward it if I needed to. So yeah, that's the gist of how all that works. There's probably some things I can fix. Hopefully it's useful to see how it all works here. Maybe you can tell me what I'm doing wrong if you ever have any tips. So yeah, for character control, that's been really nice. I moved it to its own scene so I can reuse that when I need to. And I moved on to the server and client. So to try and represent this better, I'm going to pull up the server code. Right, so this is the server code. Yeah, maybe that'll be fine. Okay. So over here in the main menu, I have a button, and all the button is just a connect button, right? And in the connect button script up here, I'm just none too compact, but the idea here is that I'm using the connect button. When I connect to it, I'm setting up a server, sort of. I'm setting up some multiplayer event connections. So Godot has this just like built-in multiplayer global that you can use if you wanted to. And I also disable it here to make sure you're not just spamming the click button. I'm not sure what happens in that case, but it's there. So here I just connect to whenever the user connects or disconnects from the server. And then I'm also specifying where to find the server, the IP here. And since it's just on this machine, I'm just going to call it localhost. eNet multiplayer peer, I just create a new instance of that. Make sure I create a client for the client. And then I make sure I assign that the multiplayer peer is this client. And then I just print out some values, which you'll see down here, for whenever these are fired. All the way over here on the server side of things, you see that it's a lot simpler. It's just one basic node, not even 2D or 3D, which has a script attached to it. And here, I'm doing a very similar thing. It actually looks almost exactly the same. It's just that the events are different. So I'm looking to see if a peer connected or disconnected. I am setting up a new instance of eNet multiplayer. And then under that, I'm creating a server instead of a client. I'm specifying the port at 8080, right? This value is how many players that you can have online at a time, at most, the maximum. And I'm sure it's because it allocates all that, it pulls that memory. And here I just set the peer, just like there, to the server instead of to the client that's created here. And then I just get messages for when a client connects or disconnects along with their corresponding ID. And this is just my simple, basic attempt at seeing if I can't set a server up that connects to, that provides connections to clients. And maybe in the future I'll sync these over, but I made these separate as well because I can just run both separately, right? So this is the server. Here's the client. Probably should have put the word server here, but anyway. Here I'm just going to connect to the server. As you can see here, it connected to the server from the client. And the server, after it started, noticed that a client connected, which is great. And I can disconnect by just closing. It told me that that client disconnected. And if I start it back up here, reconnect, oh, it's connected with a new ID. And then let's say that the server drops. Here I would have expected that the disconnected from server would have played. Oh, there it is. Actually, that makes sense. It probably is polling for, updates. And if it's just timing out, you don't know if you're disconnected yet. You have to wait for the timeout to actually elapse, and then you know that you're disconnected at that point. And bam. So yeah, the simplest server client architecture I've set up. But this can be exported as like a Linux program, and I can put it onto a Linux server, which I'm very used to. And then this could be a Windows app or a Mac app, and I could just load it onto those clients and see if they work when they connect to the server. And yeah, hopefully everything in the mind map can be fulfilled as I expand and go forward. So hopefully this was interesting to look at. Let me know if you have any thoughts, questions, criticisms. I'm an open book. And yeah, take care.